My experience recording with Hellyeah Rise was one of my favorite recording experiences I've had as far as recording a record. Reason being that we got in there and it was just no muss, no fuss. Got in there, loaded in, 2 weeks later, loaded out. So we got in there, we went there on a mission to do a job, and we did it well. It's probably the most prepared I've ever been for a record because of all the demoing we did for it. And I can say that without a doubt because it's probably the first record I ever did that I didn't have a lyric sheet in front of me. Usually I have a lyric sheet in front of me, and this time I went in there knowing every song by heart. Like I was in there tracking, giving it my all with my eyes closed and just belting it. And it was great. And working with Kerry and Josh Wilbur, the producer, it was amazing because it was mostly them around when I was tracking my vocals, and they'd come into the ISO booth and we communicated really well. And me and Kerry really communicate well with what he wants. You know, he'll tell me like about that take and say what he really wants, out of me. And there's a way how he describes what he wants out of me. Sometimes it could be just a physical movement, or just he'll give me an example and just tell me to do a more intense version of that. And it worked out extremely well. And we got a very probably my most aggressive vocal takes ever on any album I've ever done. And I really I can't say enough how wonderful the experience was recording this record. I was purely focused, just purely focused. There was really no distractions, and it was just to give the best vocal performance I could. I'd say my approach and process for performing these songs in the studio versus my other bands that I've recorded with. This one was just, it was much more aggressive approach. And I was working very tightly and very closely with Kerry, and he was coming across with what I wanted. He actually laid down guide vocals for every song, and just he's like, take it from that and just make it as aggressive as you can. And we were doing this on the demos for the record. And like he'd come in and say, okay, that's just a little too, that reminds me of your other band, this reminds me of that. Like this, we kind of want to, I can't say reinvent the guy or reinvent the throat, but to a certain degree we do. There is a separation with my voice and my vocal approach on this record than any record I've done with, say, Death Angel, where this is much more in your face and just savage, and I can't say enough, just very prepared to do it. And it's just the communication between me, Josh, and Kerry was great. I took voice lessons for many years. I took opera lessons and classic voice lessons, and also power, like metal voice lessons. And what I did was I kind of just took little bits of each thing I was taught from those vocal instructors and what worked for me, and melded into one warm-up routine that I do, plus with a lot of really obscure phrases or melodies from songs that I've done. It's almost like a superstition, these songs I have to do before I actually get in the studio. But what it is there's a lot of low singing songs and some really high singing songs, and some screamy bits. So I do that, and a lot of tea, a lot of ginger tea with Manuka honey and black tea mixed in, just to get that caffeine in me to bring out the aggression, maybe, and little nips of gin just to relax the throat, and that's kind of it. Just curl my toes and just dig in. What I do to relax it is, it's not so much when the recording is done, because recording when I'm tracking vocals in the studio, we get in there, as soon as we're in there, I warm up and we're going. What I do on the road, that's very different. So on the road, I get in there, I warm up, and then do the show. And then after the show, I'll yammer all night with everyone. But it's just, during the day, it's more just a lot of nodding or just answering yes or no, things like that. And it's hard because when you're on tour, it's a very social situation. And people, they'll see me before the show and wonder if I'm in a bad mood or something because I'm not saying anything. Where after the show, I'm like the most, in your face talking about everything. So It's just that, and you learn over the years what works, you know, for you as an individual vocalist, because what works for some doesn't work for others. You know, I know people that don't do warm-ups at all and walk straight on stage and kill it, or smoke cigarettes and just, boom, it's their time, they put it out and they get up on stage. But, you know, I know it works for me. And